Forager's feedback here. So I thought I'd try something different today, and this is it's in town, but I want to show you what is still alive and coping. We have had some rain though. I'm in Glastonbury at the moment, but you'll see the grass, but some of the grass is still green, isn't it? And this reminds you that you can plant grass which has got deeper roots, and it copes when there's less rain. And here's an example. So often it's like a couch grass that doesn't dry out, and some grasses are going to naturally dry out at this time of year anyway. Now, did any of you see the video that went up about the lime and how you can roast these seed pods and then grind them down and make a type of chocolate? So remember, as always, with all the foraging rules, don't take them all. And if you get the opportunity, maybe plant some in the area that you're selecting them from. You notice a hazel over there is doing very well as well. So it's always interesting because you wonder where they're getting their water from. She must have quite deep roots. And one of the places that you might find some plants are doing very well are around the base of a tree, because the moisture comes down the bark. You've got a range of ivy and usual detritus from people's crap, through brambles. That looks like a type of honeysuckle there. There's all sorts, isn't there, where maybe people have planted bulbs, or maybe a bird pooed there. One of the things in towns, you've also got the opportunity where people will spill their drinks, and that will hydrate areas. So we see along the side of walls, again, the moisture will be attracted to the stone, and there's some dandelions there. You're not going to be foraging any of those dandelions though, because they're not necessarily going to be free of dogweed. This area here is a bit dried out, but we've still got some plants poking their way up. I had a very similar plant to that on my allotment. There are quite a lot of it. Let's have a look at this one. What have we got there? So that looks like a dock. It's got some young leaves on it. It's probably quite a good point for dogs to be on. And over this side, somebody's got buddleia growing. There's several of them here. So that eventually will start pushing the curb apart. Some daisies at the back. More buddleia, so that one's quite significant. And notice it's close to where the drain water comes down. So buddleias are very good at finding places to grow, although this one's a little bit dried out, isn't it? So a good range of plants that are taking advantage of the water that comes off the buildings, the stonework. How do you feel about the plant life that's left on the street? Do you think it should be there, or do you think it should be removed? Because there's been quite a few posts recently, hasn't there, about people saying that you should not be leaving the streets in their natural habitat. So you shouldn't be having bits of grass growing. You shouldn't let the dandelion grow, or the cat's ear grow, or the things like dock. But where their roots are, that creates pockets of moisture as well. They don't suck it all up, do they? So maybe we should leave them well alone. Or should someone come along with a weed killer, which is what the councils tend to do, and in Cornwall there's a big battle about the use of glyphosates because it affects the bees. And people seem to forget that. But if we kill off the bees, that's the end of us, really, isn't it? Kill all those pollinators, and what are we going to have next? So I'm going down Benedict Street. You'll notice down here there's a nice skull in the window. This place is called the Scullery. But there's no weeds. There's a few there. There's some grass growing again along the water line and here by somebody's drain pipe. Tiny plants. They're also in places where all the dogs wee. So are these plants surviving on dogs weeing on there? Or are they surviving on water coming down? So if anybody's looking for a van for sale, there's one there. For sale, £4,950. That's a 55 plate, if that's what you need. Morning. Again. So I'm assuming that black metal there is going to be attracting some oyster. And there's no weeds in there though. There's a fairy door though. All the rubbish is out waiting for bin men. I actually tried contacting this tattoo place just to get a tattoo done. Twilight Zone, tattoo and piercing. Rang them up just to see if I could get an appointment, and she said to use Facebook. Now, the problem is Messenger, I don't know why, because I've checked the settings, it won't let me contact businesses. And so I sent an email, and it seems people don't read their emails either. So let's have a quick peek there. So they're all looking pretty green. And it's interesting, isn't it? At places where there's more shade, as has been coping better. So you've got some dandelion there. Quite a bit of dandelion, looking quite fresh. But again, you're not going to be foraging these bits because of the dogs, keeping them watered as well. But all here, so got a good range of greenery, suggesting that this doesn't get as much sun. Probably been blocked by the houses opposite. There's plenty along this section, and there looks like lots of cats here on the other side. It looks like almost like a mint, doesn't it? I'm not going to have a sniff because, again, don't know who's been keeping it watered. And then you can see what they've got in the playground, which the bees are loving. Plenty here, isn't there, really? So does that mean that some plants will survive better in towns because of people moving around, because of a structure where water's attracted, and they are in the countryside? Bumble and I went into King Arthur the other day. We had some interesting decor and sites. If you've been there, say hey. And then I've come down because this place is meant to be open. but it's not. So I made a mistake. Why did I think it was open on Thursday? Oh, I'm an idiot. So this used to be the old police court. And for some reason, my crazy old head thought that it was open. There's a good display there, isn't there? Keeping the place green. So this is St Benedict's Church. And they've got some plants in there. There's a drinking point. There's some, I don't know why somebody's put a can over the top of that. Bizarre, isn't it? It really is bizarre, the things that people do. Someone's been using it as a fag butt place as well. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean that up. But you'll notice that there's a good amount of plants around, so it looks like it has had water recently in there. I've just seen if I've got a dog poo bag, so I can give us a bit of a tidy up. I had not noticed this the other day when I came down here. So, and the reason I'm using a dog poo bag is that I don't really know what has been done. Here, so I'm just going to remove the cigarette butts. Now, why am I removing cigarette butts? Partly, it's because they are full of plastics. Now, can you see the moisture in there? So, it does need a bit of a clean out with maybe some longer tools. And then you can, it's ridiculous, isn't it? That somebody's been hanging around here throwing their butts. Maybe they think they're being good. Bits of plastic in there as well. Maybe they think it's less likely to start a fire. Fag butts are not things that we should be dropping on the ground, but you see plenty of it happening, don't we? Like one more fag butt to pick up. And then so there's the tap that somebody has covered up. So really, that water, if it's there, slowly dripping out, needs to be left alone for the insects to have, or the bird needs it. Don't you think? Not covered up with a bloody coffee can. So there we go. So it seems like it has a bit of a slow drip coming out. Maybe not the drinking fountain that it once was. And these places used to be around all over towns. And a friend of mine went to Rome recently and she said there were drinking fountains everywhere. So why haven't we got drinking fountains all over the place? This is a churchyard of St Benedict's, and they've got the points that children have been planting here. One of the notes that I do want to say to you is be really careful with some of the grass seeds. At the moment, they're really sharp. I actually had a grass seed stuck in my finger. So I've been weaving some longer grass sections, and I looked at my finger and it was caught on the bend, and well, it was really quite stuck. And luckily there was a leaf with a stem, and I was able to tuck it underneath. I don't think that worked quite well, did it, with the picking those fag butts up, because I've managed to get it in my bloody finger. I wonder if I could find someone to wash my hands on in a minute. Again, something else that you can't find is a public toilet that's open. Now that's definitely, those, they look a little bit like lilies. They're bright orange. That looks like one of those. And they spread like nobody's business, don't they? There's some figs there. They've been collecting. There's plenty of these, and I don't know what those are. So if anybody knows what those are, do share. There's lots of it there, isn't there? And we're just going to wander down here to see what they've got growing in the goddess hall. I only noticed this the other day. I've been to Glastonbury a few times in the past. Oh, this is the goddess hall. So we've got garden space here. There's a small bin to keep the place tidy. And let's have a look at what they've got growing here. So one of the beautiful things about Glastonbury is there's these community gardens that you can come look at that. So we've got the rose hips are red. So if you've got those happening, and I can smell the scent from these roses just from here. I don't even have to get that close. It's absolutely gorgeous scent. Already got a few insects starting to warm up. Lords and ladies, see in the back there. They're the ones that in the spring you have to be really careful about, because their leaves look very similar to wild garlic. So that's something worth noting. Got teasels here. I've seen these growing in the wild in Wales. And then you've got hazel. One of the things with hazel is if you look, you see the hairs catching in the sunlight. Absolutely, they feel lovely. They're like they're furry. I can't see any hazelnuts on this one. Looks like someone's been cutting it back. And there's none tucked away in there. Looks like some fennel growing. We've got a bit of a herb garden happening here. There we go. There's a display there. Some more plants here, some veggies. And down here, look at this. An apple tree. Lots of apples on the side there. So that's one thing I've noticed. A lot of people aren't picking the apples, which you think they would, wouldn't you? So this is the back garden. There's a few willow sculptures here. Ox place. So there's plenty, and because of the shade, it allows moisture to come and it keeps the plants growing. And this is an interesting plant. It's a type of balsam, and these berries, they're edible. They taste like caramel, but it is quite a prolific grower. You have to be really careful. It comes from Asia, and the bees do like it, but it's not a homegrown species. Somebody's been putting bread out for birds there. So it looks like somebody's here on a regular basis looking after this lovely garden. And look at the way the apples are coming down here. So I have seen a number of apple trees growing in the wild as well. And look at that. So I think this plant is actually called, it's called butterbur. If you look, so those are the burrs. They would stick too close if you got too close. And it has a large leaf, very similar to a marshmallow, which means it's probably got a bit of a semi-succulent thing going on. Have a look in your herb book to see what does the butterbur do. Does it work on skin and mucous membranes? Because it's got those similarities. And the hairy bits sometimes align with the cilia that's inside your airways. Are they apples or pears? They're pears. Fantastic. I only had 2 pears on my pear tree, or the pear tree that I'm guardian to. And these teasels, very popular in the autumn for making things. Sometimes people make hedgehog ornaments with them, or they use them at the National Trust. So I'm going to stop my recording there, and I'm going to enjoy this space. There's a tiny pond there, lilies. On that note, have a marvellous magical day.